Have you tried to buy a house in the United Kingdom? Have you seen the cost of them? Oh my Gideon! No one stands a blooming chance. And why is that? Well, there ain't enough housing stock. So we do need to build more homes. And Keir Starmer has promised to build 1.5 million homes in the United Kingdom by the end of their tenure. Well, I say poppycock. That is so pie in the sky and detached from reality. It really is. Anyway, if you want to hear my thoughts on that, well, please boop the old like button first. And maybe subscribe to the channel, little bell icon, because then you get one plus in your pocket every time I upload another video. You can support the channel, Patreon, Buy Us Coffee, or even memberships, where you will get to see the video before anybody else who ain't members. Anyway. But first, my background is construction, right? I'm a captain joiner and a captain mate. I've pretty much done everything in my time. Qualified in all sorts of areas of work, including electrician. I was a captain joiner. I'm a MVQ3 bricklayer. Anyway, you name it. It's pretty much, I've done all sorts of stuff in cladding, all sorts of qualifications and various courses I've done over the years. And oh my God. Now, when I left the industry back in 2008, it was the last crash. I said I had enough at that point, and I moved to France. But at the time, before the crash, the housing crash, we, financial crash, sorry, we were building houses, doing extensions, loft conversions. We were doing a lot of remedial work for building control, wherever builders are cocked up, that kind of thing. We were busy, and we had plenty of people work for us. That's my firm. That's what we used to do. And one of the hardest things for us was actually getting good workers. You're only as good as the people you have around you. Same as Elon Musk. He's useless without the good people around him. Now, for me, one of the biggest problems I had was lazy people. People had very poor work ethic. Their skills just weren't there. Their heart wasn't in it. And the problem when you got, say, I don't know, people on the laying bricks to the line, you got a couple of brickies laying to the line, and you got a labourer feeding them and muck and what have you. Well, then the fact of the matter is you have to keep it flowing. Otherwise, you're non-productive, and it's one person. It's like putting a spanner in the works. It wrecks the whole balance of like a finely tuned machine it was. Anyway, so we couldn't get good people necessarily quickly. They just aren't there. All right, and when you consider, since Brexit and Boris Johnson, back in 2019, when he became the Prime Minister, the actual amount of construction workers we had went down by 15%. 15%. That is a huge amount. It really is. And we can argue that until we're blue in the face. Maybe you vote for Brexit and stuff like that. We can argue it until you're blue in the face. But we have, to meet the current obligations, we have a shortage of construction workers, skilled workers, and whether they, they're wood bodgers or whether they laying bricks to the line or roofers, no matter what line of work you're in, sparkies, plumbers, you name it, we don't have enough. And we're short of around over 250 odd thousand just to meet our current demand. So the idea that we're going to build 1.5 million homes by the end of Labour's tenure is for the birds. It really is. And we need to wake up and we need to, not just realise, but accept that it's going to be extremely difficult to meet that demand. And when we've got a rapidly increasing population, whether they be the migrants or people that complain about, or whether they be babies, people leaving home, or there's a lot of people living with their parents still, which they want to get out. I don't blame them. That's what I did. But you see, there are several things that will change over the next few years that I see, because there are solutions. The problem is The current construction industry is so set in their ways, and also we are. We're set in our ways what we consider to be a home, what we consider to be, well, a house, what it should look like, and it needs to be made out of brick, and it's got full walls and doors and double glazed windows and a picket fence. I don't know, whatever else we go put in this flipping house. I don't know. Okay, we have this perceived notion of what a house is. Now, some people are very transient. Do they need really a home, or do they need a house? Do they need something to live in for the moment, or do they need something for that they want to have a family in? It's not always the case. You see, all you seem to be building is what they consider as very moderate, very small, compact houses, which are unhealthy for a start, full of mould because they're too small. There's not enough air volume for the amount of people living in them. They're crap. Sorry, I built these things. I know what they're like. Whether they be Wilcon Homes or any of the current construction firms, they keep changing because they keep struggling. Change names, why don't they? You know, they all using similar methods. Now, when we've got a shortage of 250,000 plus construction workers, many of them are bricklayers, we're never going to meet this demand of 1.5 million houses, even if you do change planning rules. You see, the costs of everything's increasing as we go along. The longer we wait to deal with this, the actual costs of actually implementing these builds are increasing. Not just wages, because obviously where you have a supply and demand issue, in other words, we don't have enough, they can ask huge amounts of money. The plumbers are notorious for it. The electricians are notorious for it. The bricklayers might be working on piecework to, laying bricks to the line, what have you. And the more they lay, the more money they get. They can earn shitloads. Subbies can. So the costs go up to build, which causes problems, obviously, for construction firms, developers. They have to ask themselves, is there enough profit in the build? Quite often there is not. So they slow down their builds. Now, back in 2008, the building sites all shut down because of the housing crash, because there wasn't enough demand. We've certainly got the demand, we just don't have the ability to build them. Now, with the demand that we've got, we could actually get house prices down, but we need to build. But we're building the wrong houses. Now, training someone on site is costly and it's slow. Now, how it normally works, well, when I was doing my MVQ3 on bricklaying, we had 1 day a week, sometimes 2 days a week, we were at a school for bricklaying. We had these models and stuff we were building. And the rest of the time we'll be on site. That's how it was. So the only opportunities for people to learn the skills properly were those where there were positions on site to for subbies, for trainees. And obviously, if you've got a trainee, you need bricklayers or skilled workers to actually teach them. And many skilled workers want to earn the money. They don't want to be training anyone because they see them as a hindrance. They don't speed things along; they slow them down. Especially when you've got someone just out of school, what have you. They haven't got any work ethic. They don't really know what work is at that stage, in many cases. But there is a solution. My solution, well, there's a couple of solutions actually. My preferred solution would be to look at modular construction, where it comes in on a low loader and it's erected on site. So the majority of the work is done, which is generally like PET panels, etc., in insulated panels, basically all put together, all pre-wired, pre-plumbed, and everything in the factory. Now, when you have workers and trainees in a factory environment, they are easier to train. You train them to do a specific job. When you're training someone to work on site, and you're going through construction schools and stuff like that, you are training them to learn the whole lot. But if you just train one person, 2 people, 3 people, or 10 people to do a specific task, like in a factory where you're building houses, you stand more of a chance to actually build them. Plus, there's obviously robotics and automation, and we've got AI and all that sort of squid as well. That's how we should be building houses. We should be building modular houses off-site, take them to site. If we are to build this 1.5 million homes, and even then, it is going to be, well, it's going to be difficult, extremely difficult. But a lot of the problem is us in our heads. We have this preconceived concept of what a house should look like, and we need to change that, because the way we live these days, we live in a fast-moving society in the technological world, which is also fast-moving, and houses need to be able to keep up with us. The house we build today is not necessarily the same house we're going to want in 20 years' time. So we need to learn how to build them fast, we need to learn how to build them cheap, and we need to build them in a way that they're recyclable or upgradable, where they're easy to update. Modular houses tend to be just that. They can even be taken off site again, back to a factory to be modernised and repurposed to meet modern standards. There's a lot you can do with a modular home. Right? That's one way we could improve the situation. The other way, which doesn't solve the lack of skilled workers, but if we are to remove some of the costs in the sense of corporations making huge amounts of money by profiteering off people who are just trying to get home to live in, and they are literally profiteering, they don't want the house prices to come down. So the construction firms want to hold the price high. So what do, they limit the builds. They manage the flow of new homes onto the market. They do. I've worked there. I know what they're like. I know what they do. I've had these discussions before on site. So they limit the market. They limit the supply to manage the market, to keep the house prices high, so they can increase their profits in the builds. For every single build, they want to maintain a minimum profit. So we need to take it out of their hands. Now, currently, say for instance, a council has some money to build some council properties, some social security housing. What happens is the construction firms say it's Welcome Homes. They will allocate a certain amount of houses that they have to do to get the planning approved. So they'd allocate a certain amount of houses, what have you, or facilities on that site. What if we took that away from them and actually built the houses ourselves? You could still get them to pay for it, because you can still bribe them. But we need to have our own nationalised or national building firms strategically placed around the country. That's what I think. I think you could even do that with the modular houses, as in the fitting teams and stuff like that. You could actually do that. But if we're going to get anywhere near 1.5 million homes by the end of their tenure, we need to take some drastic actions. And we need to actually take some of the power away from these corporations, these massive developers who sit on land and what have you for decades, waiting to get planning on them, or waiting for it to be the right time to build to get the maximum return on the land. Need to take that away from them, that ability to do that. Need to force them either to build on that land or to release it for us to build on, using modular homes. See, modular homes use less materials. They're lighter to build, they're easy to construct, they can be automated to some degree, and you can build it much, much faster. Also, the materials are generally lighter, apart from the timbers and stuff like that, but you haven't got bricks. Do you realise we actually import bricks and blocks into the country? You know, we make hardly anything these days. Bricks, blocks, cement. Won't be that long before we be importing sand. No, it won't. We've got plenty of sand. So, that's my point of view there. You see, the thing also about modular homes is they can be built on a lightweight foundation. You don't need big ass foundations. You can, building regulations. Sometimes I get you to dig. I've done it myself. Put footings in 2 meters deep because on sandy soil and stuff like that. Well, if you had a floating raft foundation, you don't need that. It's self-supporting. So anyway, that's my point of view. Anyway, so the idea they're going to be building these homes without any kind of forward thinking and different ideas. You know, this is massive opportunities for sort of small to medium enterprises as well. Fitting teams, installation teams and constructors to put together these homes. A bit like shed builders. Very expensive sheds like that, yeah. So yes, planning. Okay, let's get around. There's sort of 5 things really. You got maybe more actually. Housing targets to create opportunities, I think we should do for the SMEs. Planning reforms, what have you. Cut red tape, and obviously they're going to build on green belt land and what have you, which I'm not that keen on. Better productivity. Modernising our work methods, such as the way we build the houses. Dealing with the skills shortages, encouraging people who out from school and what have you to consider construction as an opportunity instead of it being frowned upon. You see, carpenters and joiners used to be like, they used to be very important people. Like in the old shipping, what have you, the carpenter for the ship was the second mate. He was second to the captain. He was considered very important. He might be the one who stopped that ship from sinking. But these days, skills are generally frowned upon. There's such snobbery out there, as unreal. And I'll tell you something, I can build virtually anything, alright? I've been doing it long enough now in virtually every area of the construction industry, and I can build anything. Right? And I'm proud of that. I never get someone in to do anything. I always do it myself. Because I can. It also saves you money at home. How many people don't get their stuff done because it's too expensive? How many people buy a new washing machine because they can't afford to get the repairman in? And that's more blinking junk in the tip. Now, the skills shortage is certainly going to hold the sector back, and it's going to hold back these 1.5 million homes. And but I do believe modular housing is going to grow as a sector anyway, because it's the only way forward at the moment. We can't get these heavy materials on time when we need them, and there's a massive shortage, and they cause delays. And where there's delays, it costs money. And when there's delays, where you find difficult to get materials, the prices go up. Everything becomes more expensive. It's all about supply and demand. Where there's low demand, the price is high. Where you have sort of high demand. Sorry, when you've got high demand, the prices are high, and when you've got low demand but and good supply, but then the prices are low because they need to get rid of the stuff. That sort of thing. It's not rocket science. But I don't think people in government actually understand. I really do not. I don't think the last lot did. The Tories, they clearly didn't understand because they're the wrong people doing that job. We should be having people who've worked in those sectors, who understand how they work, maybe a site foreman, right? Such as for work on homes. Hey, I'll tell you, that's a stressful job. The amount of flipping time, 1, 2, 3 on work. So I used to work on homes, you see. I can remember 2 or 3 building site managers on long-term relief. One had a heart attack. The pressure was immense to get all the trades, all the wet trades and dry trades, get them all, together and what have you at the right time. And you can imagine what us lot are like. But a nightmare. Putting pressure on poor site foremen. No wonder they were arrogant sods. They weren't the nicest of people, the site foremen, but they had a really tough job. I did appreciate that. I really did. So anyway, you tell me. Maybe you work in that sector. Are you finding it hard to get some materials? Maybe it's because of Brexit. Maybe it's not. Are you finding it hard to get the skills? Are you somebody who maybe have got some builder work that needs to be done on your house? You just can't get anyone because they just ain't there. People are available, might not be of any good. You can be so careful now. There's so these cowboys out there. Oh my god, especially in the UK, because you don't really have any. Any real protections in the sense of the skills themselves. Here we have a thing called serial numbers. We have to make sure that we are got the right numbers behind us. And what happens is, if, for instance, you're caught doing work on a site and you're not qualified to do it, or you don't have long-term experience to do it, so you haven't got the serial numbers to do it, well then you'll get fined as the worker, but also the customer. They get a whopping great fine. You can get £5 and they get God knows what. So, there are protections here in France, but, you know, everywhere's different and after all. I have to admit your building regulation approval is a little bit more, makes a bit more sense than what we've got here. Here it's a declaration to say you just built it correctly. You just sign it off. Which is a bit daft, but there you go. Anyway, it's time for me to go, but please boot the old like button and maybe subscribe to the channel. And please comment down below and share my videos. I really need a lift. Oh, I really want to get this channel moving for 2025. That's my New Year's resolution. I just made it up. Just a second. Anyway, please comment down below. Toodaloo!